I think, and James and I have discussed this in Brussels in the last year, that it's only if business itself wants broadband that it will happen. We have strategies, the European Council, so the David Camerons of the European Union have sat together and said since 2010 that higher speeds quickly are important. But I think that the sense of sometimes, as James says, complacency within administrations, within telco investors, within regulators, arises from the fact that they think this is kind of nice to have, but they don't know what it's for. And so when I go around Europe saying we need 100 mega if we're going to be still at the cutting edge of creative industries, for example, if we're not going to have the Wallace and Gromit of this century replaced by something that has to be done in South Korea, because the guys who make Wallace and Gromit can't send over the wires from Bristol to Hollywood. They have to copy it and put a guy on a plane with a hard copy of their inventions. So when I tell that story, people say, yeah, but it's all about video games for adolescents and porn. You know, it's not serious stuff. And I think, therefore, that it's only when business, when innovation, when entrepreneurs say, we need it here for this reason, and in this town, if we had higher speed, this is what you'd get next year. When those messages come from the grassroots, which is you guys, I think we can get a greater sense of urgency than we have today. I'd like to say a few things about the framework we try to create at European level within which the urgency of broadband can be understood. Because we're not doing broadband because we are technophiles or because we have shares in telcos. We're doing it because it's part of a broader agenda which we believe will put the whole of the European economy at the cutting edge at global level, and we believe that without it there is a risk of underperformance. The first pillar that Europe is driving, and that's the business I have to discuss with our colleagues in the university tomorrow, is continued public-funded research and innovation in tomorrow's world-leading technologies. Europe has, and the UK has, the best chip design in the world. We have to keep it that way. We have a very significant stake in high-speed computing that works. The Chinese claim they're building faster computers, but they're not quite sure what to run over them yet. We have an extremely strong suit in video gaming, both up the road in Coventry and in Dundee. And those guys have spin-off companies out of those universities in Singapore to pick up the money from Asia and the support from Asia to make that happen as well. So at the one end, the good news is that some of your tax euros will be funding ICT research and innovation over the next 7 years. The second area, and this is one of the big tests for the European Council at the end of the month, is getting the regulation right. And here I come closer to the broadband agenda. Do we need to change the way we regulate the so-called incumbents, the big telcos with significant market power, as a competition lawyer would say, or British Telecom, or BT, or Openreach, as you would say here? Do we need to regulate them in a different way in order to drive them to invest more, to reduce roaming costs, to use spectrum more efficiently? Answer, yes. Does the UK government agree with this so far? Answer, probably we get 6 out of 10 so far, but we're trying to get the score to go up before the European Council. Where is the hesitation? Roaming fees to be cut, everybody agrees with that. It's a crowd pleaser for consumers. It's good if you're a globe-trotting businessman, or at least a Europe-trotting businessman. More difficult are the pieces that we're putting on the table about net neutrality. So can you allow specialized business services to run at higher speeds over the internet? Some say yes, that's what I would say. Others say no, no, no. The internet has to be a sort of communist dream where everything runs at the same speed even if it's slower. But that's an important test because the open internet crowd are extremely strong advocates of their position, and I think there's an important regulatory question to be addressed there. And in respect of spectrum, we believe that if we could have better cross-European coordination of spectrum, which is crucial, of course, for LTE, for 4G, you would then get cheaper devices and, again, lower cost to develop the business models on a 500 million market and not a 60, 70 million market each time. So those would be some of the key areas for regulation that we're looking at. The third area that we're working on a lot is making the future look attractive to every voter. And that comes in different flavours. Can we have a better internet for kids? Help children as they grow up to be more savvy about what's on the internet so that they take full advantage of the educational opportunities and avoid the pitfalls? Can we reach the over 60s who need to be able to use the internet to get better access to their health services and stuff like that, but feel a bit cut off from it? Can we, in areas which I call digital social goods, can we get government online at lower cost to users, whether that's business or the private household? Can we use ICT to open up education? That was the theme of the Commission's papers last week. There's an infinite number of things there, some of which are good for businesses that you may be in, and some of which are just good for society or for somebody further down the road in the industrial estate. But in all cases, we think that if the internet is not aspirational for more and more voters, then politicians may hear an increasingly loud voice of business saying more broadband now, but they won't act on it unless also other non-business voices are saying the same thing. I think that the government of this country is really in good faith when they say they want to accelerate broadband. But compared to what some other countries have done, there isn't a national next generation network plan. So there isn't a document you can download and say, this is the vision. And I think that's one mistake, because it means there's nothing that the outnets and the competitors can play against. Secondly, there isn't a national digital strategy which covers the 3 points of the triangle I was just describing. So I would say, if you look back over the last 5 years, the fact that internet policy has been split between the business department and culture, media, sport, and the fact that DCMS has been busy making a huge success of the Olympics, combines to mean that we lack some of that sharp focus that usually, and I was working there not so long ago, Whitehall delivers for this country. So I think there is a sort of a cognitive piece, a descriptive piece, which would help to accelerate broadband if it were clearer. And that's a very bad message for a bureaucrat to deliver to businessmen. You know, you need more pieces of paper coming out of government. But I think that's one piece where we are saying, certainly to all the member states, in the context of the next 7 years of regional fund spending, you need to have these two plans in place. A plan for your next generation network strategy, not just bits of it and a BDUK, and you need a digital strategy that makes the internet aspirational and that drives innovation into it.